The next topic I want to discuss is insulin resistance and the importance of knowing if you have insulin resistance. So we're going to start pretty basic of it kind of explaining what is insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is when your body is intaking too much glucose, where the pancreas cannot push out enough insulin to meet with the glucose. The idea is that as far as anatomy, what happens is that you intake, say, a piece of bread. It has so many molecules of glucose. The goal is that the pancreas will put out enough insulin to intake 1 molecule of insulin with 1 molecule of glucose. It fits into a nice little bubble and it reacts well and it is absorbed throughout the body, pushed through the liver, and everything is good. The problem is that we are eating way too many high sugar foods, high processed foods that break down as glucose, and over years of time, then our pancreas cannot keep up. So when that happens, that is called insulin resistance, because we have too much glucose and the insulin cannot keep up with it, and we have too high levels. So when that happens, there are some certain tests that we can test for, but the unfortunate part is we're not testing for it. We're actually not even taught about this in our traditional medicine. There are so many symptoms that you can develop, but the unfortunate part is a lot of people don't even know what these symptoms are, and a lot of people do not develop these symptoms for up to 10 to 15 years. So this is something that we can catch very early on with a fasting insulin level. This is something you can recommend to your primary care provider. You can do it once a year just to see what levels are. Now keep in mind, as we talked before about reference range levels and optimal levels, there is a big difference. So you can actually be insulin resistant even if you're over a certain level on the optimal ranges. So you need to make sure that either you know how to read this or your provider knows how to read this to make sure as far as the future of what this might tell. So fasting insulin levels elevated can actually be a precursor to prediabetes up to 15 years before it's even diagnosed. So this can tell you how big of a time range we have to where we can actually prevent this from ever occurring. And this really revolves around diet. I don't want to say that everything is around diet, but insulin resistance, the vast majority is. The newest study that we have recently found is that 88% of American adults are, and I shouldn't even say adults, of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. That is astounding to me. So what that is saying is that only 12% of the American population is actually metabolically healthy. So what that means is we have insulin resistance and we're walking around and we have no idea. And now is the time to fix it. We are seeing an increased risk in kids. We are seeing overweight kids. We are seeing kids developing into teenagers with fertility issues, with PCOS. We have high blood pressure, like, oh my goodness, it's diagnosed so frequently now. All of these chronic diseases, or I should say most of these chronic diseases, can be linked back to insulin resistance. This is truly another epidemic that we are just not diagnosing early enough and setting those pathways in progress to fix it or to at least reverse it. This can also be considered that type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's. This has been a known fact for several years. So this will affect your brain. This affects every system in your body. So we want to make sure that we correctly check it if we're within optimal range, and if we are not, then we have contacts with someone or someone that can help us to make lifestyle changes so this level can actually get down to optimal levels.